I am Ryan Doyle. This is the Vertical Table, and we are back with the dynamic duo at Mystic Art Games. What's up, guys? I'm super excited that we got to do this. Daði and AB,
Yeah.
you started like what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and have taken over YouTube. Is that what?
Uh,
I think that's what happened.
it's a little north of three months. It was November 8th.
Yeah, it
Wow.
might be close to 4 months or whatever when the video comes out. But
Yeah.
yeah, we started in November 2024.
Yeah, to timestamp this for folks at home, like Valentine's Day has just passed. The video that will change the culture forever about ranking how sexy monsters are just happened.
No.
Uh, Good. I think we all learned a lot, especially about you.
I want
Yeah,
I want this to start a trend. I want to see every D&D tuber rank the monster manual. I think that's the next collab we do. We get everybody to rank the monster
that's
manual.
definitely a way to get lots of hours of humanity wasted.
Yes. Yeah. Mostly in
You take that
editing.
back. So yeah, if they were going to check that out and they're not looking for Monster Manual thirst trap videos to start, you want to build up to that. Where would you guys like say people should like introduce themselves with your channel? What's a good like
Hmm.
entry point?
I mean,
I'm really proud of that video we did on exploration.
yeah, like how to make it
Mhm.
How to make exploration into a game to hook your players, like highlighting objects to interact with, and then sort of nesting those little puzzle sequences. And then I'm very happy with our video on Obsidian, which has apparently turned a lot of people onto
yeah.
to using Obsidian to prep their games, which is a note-taking software that is like non-linear and connects things via networks or whatever. So a lot of people find themselves getting lost in Google Docs or whatever, and then just having a little look at different kinds of software, I think usually blows people away a little bit when they look at Notion or OneNote or Obsidian in our case.
I would guess also say the thing we're most known for, or the one that has the most views on the channel, is the 8 types of combat video.
Yeah.
Mm.
So like if people that don't know us have like seen us on like their YouTube homepage or whatever, or like on the side when you're watching a video, it's probably the combat video if it's anything.
Yeah.
I like that, and all of those really showcase this, I guess, like systematic or like approachable approach or like actionable approach to the artistry of it all. Because you have like a film background, right?
Yeah.
And then like an art background, or there's definitely an artistic lens, but it's not so abstract and woo woo. It's like here's a list of things you can do, punchy, quick,
Yeah.
like very
I went
focused.
to I studied directing and writing, so I worked with Icelandic like top tier Icelandic film directors and writers, and we did like 2 years of coursework and stuff like that in film school. And since then, I've gone to work professionally in video games as a writer director, and that's where we met at the video game company, both doing active game development. So what we tend to approach our videos with is, and you're also an artist.
Yeah, I mean, so I went to school in the US. I'm half American, so I went to college there, and my major was in music. I had a focus in music history, but yeah, I've been an artist for a long time, visual, audio, whatever. I also really wanted to make games there, so I I had a double minor in computer science and creative writing because I was like, I gotta make games, man. I gotta do everything. But yeah, so I've always also had a long focus on writing, and then I have a master's degree as well in media and communication. So lots of like art.
We're both those kinds of people that have done like all kinds of stuff, and this YouTube stuff is so much like all of those things in one. So it was a lot of fun for us to sink our teeth into that. And when we make our videos, we wanted to make sure that we highlight both the art stuff that we're all into, but also marry it with the games that we all play, and make sure to find a way to sort of systematize or actively give immediately actionable advice based on a person's, an audience member's desire to play games that are like narrative or role play heavy or whatever, but try and do that in a way that is also a game and not just like the DM tells us all the story or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So
very, very well. And that shines through. And it's funny. I think that like the thing that YouTube and D&D has the like in common the most is this it being a giant basket of like bring all of your skills and hobbies and talents and throw them in this bucket and we will
yeah.
get one hobby slash pastime to rule them all.
Yeah, yeah. If you're into D&D, you could be doing painting or drawing. You could be doing music. You could be doing whatever. And there are so many entryways. You're writing or game design, or there are so many entryways for somebody to join D&D. And I think YouTube is a lot of the same kind of thing. I think the thing that makes us good YouTubers is the same thing that makes us good players. The same thing that makes us good artists. It's just a lot of fun.
Speaking of playing games and having fun, grab some dice. Let's roll a d20. Let's do this game
Yes.
show thing.
We have
We have all our dice in front
many
of us.
dice.
We will. Eventually I will ask for all of your dice, but right now we're doing a random roll table of d20 with questions. If you get the same result twice, we go into the lightning round.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you now? There's two of us. How does this work when there's two of us? Do we roll one each, or does one of us roll at a time?
Great question. I think it's actually I've been thinking about this because you're my first duo. I think we're gonna address the same question to both of you, and maybe you have the same answer, or maybe you have different answers. Maybe you guys have a fight about it, which would be cool. Whatever. I'm kidding. Whatever we could do to court. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Mystic Arts DM broke up on my interview.
Oh yeah, that's the title and thumbnail right there. We can post for it.
Do it.
There we go.
Do it. Screen grab.
Thumbnail.
So there's not like good or bad in here, but there's definitely like a tonal shift. I think some of the questions are going to lend themselves more to like a DM player perspective. It's going to be very interesting. And if it breaks, we'll skip it and we'll do the next question. So let's
Awesome.
find out together.
You want the first roll?
Yeah, I can do it. 14.
14. All right. Okay. Interesting. What's going to be your takes, plural, on the whole sandbox versus railroad conversation, debate, philosophy? Where do you land on that?
Like
We get
we
so,
can.
so let's.
Sorry.
Our minds went to the same place immediately.
Yes.
So we have now multiple times had like haters or whatever, because the idea is that somebody will watch one of our videos and they'll conclude that whatever I'm talking about in the video means that we must therefore do a lot of railroading, which we always find so hilarious, because I don't know how often the entire game is thrown completely into an unexpected direction. So like my principle on running games often comes down to, and I've been meaning to talk to you about making a video about this. I want to make a video called you only prep one session at a time. Because whenever you're talking about railroad or sandbox, there's this built-in implication into the conversation that you're talking about the DM sitting down and either A, prepping a bunch of materials to roll on or approach randomly, or B, writing a story from start to finish. And I think both of those have a bunch of fundamental problems baked in. And we talk a lot about how railroading is terrible. And I think that's correct. I think if you're playing a game and what you do doesn't matter, you don't have to play D&D. You can go play Last of Us and it's like a lot better. So if you're playing a game that's... But if you're playing a sandbox and all that's happening is you're rolling on random dice, you can also go play Dwarf Fortress and you get something that's much better, right? So where D&D shines is that we discover it together and you do it one session at a time. And I have a rough idea of what direction I'd like to go, and the players have a rough idea what they like to go. And every time we meet, we have this spark connection point, and that is the game, that is the story. And then we all go home, and then the players think, what do I want to do next? And the DM thinks, what do the bad guys want to do next? And then we meet again, and it's like this continual explosion of creativity. So that's the video I want to make about sandbox versus railroad.
Yeah, because like the important thing also is that for our table, right, we really like it's very story focused. And like if you say that to someone, they can have a certain idea of what that means. No, that to some people it means Daði has one story that he wants to tell, therefore he'll funnel us, from room to room, and he's told the story. But that's not what the table is. It's just all the players want it to be a story, but well, we can build that however we want. If one session I sit up and go, I'm gonna murder the mayor or something, and Daði goes, okay, and closes his notes and then makes that happen, and now the story has changed.
The story is murdering the mayor.
Yeah, the story is I just did something evil, and I'm probably ruining everything we've done, but that's interesting, right? Now something new has happened.
And you can find a story in whatever. Like there's this sort of misconception that if you're talking about story focused games, you're talking about railroading games, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But you can, like I'm running a hex crawl right now. It's a huge hex crawl adventure, and it's a massive sandbox. Players can go anywhere, and it's still a story focused game, right? Because just because they went somewhere random doesn't mean that the results have to be nonsense. Like they can still have an arc to them. So I reject your premise, Ryan.
It is a trick question. You're speaking my language. Like that is exactly how I love it. It's very. The most challenging part of this show, sitting down with YouTubers, is not just complaining about random YouTube comments. So, with that pitfall in mind here, yeah, there is this misconception that like if we were focused on the narrative, it has to be the dungeon master's narrative. It has to be a predetermined narrative, and that's crazy to me. It's just we're trying to tell a cool story, not win the game. That's not the object of this game. That makes perfect sense to me, and I'll watch that video. Yeah, do it.
Awesome.
Because I feel like a lot of those comments are like if you say story focused, it's almost hard for some people to consider that includes the players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if there is a story to be told, then obviously the DM is the only one who's writing it. But like that's not the point of D&D. The point is for everyone to do it.
Yeah. Folks come in with their sort of conceptions baked in a lot of the time. Yeah. So
because I mean, also you can just have tables that, unlike, because people can play how they want to play, right? The important thing is that if you're having fun, the bumps happen when you see how someone else plays and you go, I don't like that, or I don't think that's how it should be. Yeah. Because there are tables that do like mega dungeons or rolling for loot, and this
I've done all that. Yeah.
Like the whole adventure is just going through a big old dungeon, and there's monsters and rooms and traps, and like people love that, and I'm happy for them. I don't want to do that.
There is potential, like you could have story in a mega dungeon. It's maybe more challenging than like a more like wildernessy or like the settlement side of adventuring. Yeah. But like,
yeah, I mean, I think you can mesh it together however you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're saying, there's, because this also exists from the other side. So when people hear, I run a mega dungeon, there are certain kinds of folk who will then assume it has no meaning, because everybody's approaching any topic at any time with a certain amount of preconception, and usually they're approaching it with their experience, which has got a whole bunch of other stuff layered in. So somebody says, I'm playing a mega dungeon game, and they're thinking about that one time they played a mega dungeon and it sucked, and it was awesome. And now that's colored the whole conversation because you used a certain word. So a lot of the times when we're writing scripts or whatever, there are certain words I want to avoid using because it gets to a point where we're now talking, like, we're not going to get our message across because people are going to get focused on whatever term, even though it's unrelated to the topic of the video. So we're like, let's just not talk about XYZ because that's unrelated to this topic. Let's focus on what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just life on the internet, trying to communicate and not just all of a sudden everyone lights their torch. It's like, that's not, you didn't even hear what I was saying. You're just like filling in the rest. You didn't finish the video.
The Key and Peele sketch where they're texting each other and one of them gets really angry and the other one's just like picking up his phone going, yeah, man, sure. And he's like, yeah, man, sure. Like he gets really mad at it. Every time. That's usually what it is.
Yeah, there's no tone in the texting. Use emojis, people, and don't assume the worst. I don't know. Roll a d20 before I start talking about YouTube comments too long. Save us.
13. We're just gonna do them in descending order, actually.
Yeah.
We've decided.
That's fine. That's fine with me. You could have told me; it would have made it slightly easier for me to organize my cards, but it's all good. Okay, so here's one that might be tricky for you both to answer. But what is on your Dungeon Master's screen, or what's actually? You know what? Yeah, what's in your DM kit / like your D&D Go bag as a player?
I've got a huge screen.
He has a wooden DM screen that one of our players literally built for him
Yeah.
by what was it? We took apart like a bookshelf or something.
Yeah, we had a used bookshelf.
Yeah,
we sawed it all apart.
Yeah, and then she like cut angles into it to like fit so it could like fold together. So
Yeah.
it's really heavy, and then we drilled a hole in it so that you could put your computer charger through it because it's on the end of the table and it never leaves.
It just stays there.
It just stays on the table.
So we have a permanent DM screen set up. I think we've taken it down like 4 times since we moved in or something.
Yeah, I mean it's not glued, but it's
And on there, you got all the basic stuff. But I have the firearm rules, since I run a game set in a sort of industrial revolution era. So I've got our firearm rules on there, with a weapon that all the firearms do and the malfunctions and upgrades they can have.
Yeah, they're homebrew.
They're all homebrew. They're available on the Mystic Arts Patreon.
I was going to say it if you didn't. Link down below. Click it. Support creators.
Thank you. And yeah, so that's all on there. And I've got the crafting rules from the new PHB on there. They're not that big, so I could fit them into a little box that was empty, and I stuck them on there because
the brand new crafting rules that were supposed to be super comprehensive and are quite small. Yes,
a little sentence. It says you can craft for like 10 gold a day or something.
You can craft a smiley face.
Yeah.
Good luck. Invent a mini game.
Yeah, I put that on there. And I've got a pen holder that I'm very happy with, and it's got the greatest thing about it is that there's this.
We went to IKEA and he was like, "I need that pen holder."
I'm familiar with IKEA. I know. I understand needing things there. Yeah.
They're also Swedish. It's got a little light over it, and it's got like pen holder things, and there's a little hook, and I don't know what the hook is for, but I put a pipe on there so that I have a quick draw pipe for if they ever meet an NPC that smokes pipes, I can always, and then I'm smoking a pipe.
This just means we meet more NPCs that smoke pipes than like the average D&D game would have.
All of my NPCs have nicotine problems. That's you can just flavor an NPC by how they consume.
Right, what you know, right? The I love that you guys have like your Dungeon Master screen is a piece of furniture. Like it's permanent structure. It's like no, you can't move this. This is the load bearing Dungeon Master screen. This has to stay here. It's perfect.
Oh yeah,
it makes me happy.
It is load bearing.
We went to like corporate. There's like a thing in Iceland where when corporations want to get rid of their furniture, when they go under, they sell it to like a lot, and they resell
liquidator.
That.
I don't know if that's an American word or if that's like a term of art, but like
you can like buy used corporate furniture there.
So the chairs and the meeting room table, it's a corporate meeting room table that we have in our living room.
Like 3 meters?
It's 3 meters long. For like, and it's like that sort of oval shape that they have so that they can fit as many people around it. And the DM chair is like a ludicrously expensive bit of like executive suite swivel chair that I found, and it was like burgundy red, and I was like, I have to have this.
Fancy DM chair.
So I could swivel and I could lean back and I could do all those things. Well, this is necessary, actually.
You guys have a conference room for D&D.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. I have less things, or at least more movable things. Dice tray, bunch of dice, and then for our game we use like physical character sheets. We did use D&D Beyond, but then last year when they started doing like the playtests and stuff for the new version of D&D, it wasn't up yet on D&D Beyond, right? Because they were testing it, they hadn't released it, so we would had to just
We moved it all
We
to
just
paper.
moved it off the paper. We couldn't use the D&D Beyond character creator to use it. And then
And I want to add to that, like the reason we were swapping to the new rules immediately is that we had a major campaign end, and we were like a multi-year campaign end, and we were starting a new multi-year campaign.
yeah.
And we wanted that campaign to be in the new rules. They weren't out yet, but we were ready to start playing. So we were like, okay, we'll use the playtest, and then we'll slowly filter in.
Yeah, because Daði decided that for that campaign, you wanted to have physical character sheets. Like we wanted to basically break away a bit from the technology. Like the example, I think, because we talk about this a bit in our setup video, like where we show the table and stuff like that. So if people are interested in looking at the play space, that's also on the channel. But we
I missed that one. I'm going to dive. That is my next stop. I did not see that one.
It has my favorite thumbnail because I made it.
Yeah. She drew a little stick figure sitting in the expensive chair, and it's the funniest thumbnail on the channel.
But yeah, because like it's that moment where your DM says, "Oh, you find this really cool magic item, it does this, that, and that," and then you're like, "Hold on," and then the game pauses, and you have to like scroll through D&D Beyond to find it. And then you have to like assign it to the player, and they're like, "Hold on, let me scroll through."
Flame tongue, was it great sword, long sword, short sword? Is it a plus? Is it a moon?
Or God forbid you want to give them something that you made up, and then the player's like, "Hold on, let me make a custom item." What does it do? Whereas now Daði just has like index cards that he just hands to us, and we can read it without bothering everyone else.
The amount of money I spend on official D&D stuff, and then at some point I just decided if I go to my local like craft shop or like what are the like pending raffle, like what are those called?
Yeah, like stationery or like Staples if you're in the US, like Staples.
Go to one of those places, you just grab index cards and pens. If you've made a map, you can take it to a local print shop and have them print the map for like $10. Like it's dirt cheap compared to when you buy something that has been professionally made, granted, but it's not yours. So you could just make it all yours, put it all on index cards, and then have it all in paper and hand it out to your players. And then they've got physical goodies.
Yeah, like, we all bought like A5 sized binders that like match basically. They're all in different colors, but they're all in the same style. And then we put all our stuff in there. And we put like notes and whatever. Daði has his own calendar system for Orthon. I mean, it's 12 months. You just name them different stuff, but it's really helpful to like keep track of. Like, I don't know, it really puts into perspective like how much time has passed or how little time has passed. So
all the players have calendars.
Yeah, so we're like, what day is it today? And like literally at the beginning of every session, he always says what day it is because we're like, oh yes, it's been only 2 weeks since we met, and we've had how many sessions?
But that 5th edition.
Yeah. But then they also, because you give them when you give your players calendars, you know what happens? They all write their birthdays, their mom's birthdays. They fill it up with meaningful events, and then everything's contextualized in terms of like we were going through the sort of prologue adventure.
Yeah, and it was my birthday,
and we just realized it was your birthday, like
my character's birthday,
while you were going through some traumatic event. So in the middle of all of that, all the gnomes, all the Swerfneeblen stopped to celebrate her birthday.
Yeah, I had my 26th or something birthday in the Underdark.
And they were all singing songs on a gnome boat.
I love that. You just like tell the monsters in the restaurant that it's your birthday, and they just show up like clapping, singing some weird Underdark song, and like, yes.
Like, oh my god, blue melon acid cake. Thank you.
They're all doing gnome songs.
Yeah, they're all doing gnome jigs.
God, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, there's like 2 reasons to track time, right? Like there's this like the mechanical like time passage is like it's an old Gygax quote, like you can't have a D&D campaign without like strict structure, like tracking time, but also holidays, right? Like it's the solstice, it's the festival day, like here's a pumpkin rolling contest, like whatever, like the dumbest version of it. I think, I don't know if it's for the current campaign, but somewhere in these videos.
No, the fact that you bring up festivals, I literally just remembered in this. So he runs a solo campaign for me, and semi early on there was like a harvest festival, and one of my like NPC sidekicks, Aiden, he got me a rat.
Yeah.
And it's been like a year. I completely forgot that I own an albino rat.
It died in the fireball. Like it's gone, man.
Literally, the moment
The
you said
Necromancer cast Circle of Death. Like the rat's gone. Like...
the moment you said festival, it was just like.
There's a
Sorry,
dead
you were-
rat in a bag in in your inventory. Oh no! What was I saying? Now I'm preoccupied by the dead.
You were
the
talking
dead rat
about
from the
like
Harris
Gygax, like you can't
Solstice.
be mechanically tracking time,
Oh,
but you
no,
need holiday.
So I don't know if it's this current campaign that you're running, but somewhere you talk about your iteration of like gritty realism from like the 2014 DMG, but like you changed the rest mechanic, and that for me is the best way if you can get player buy-in to like actually narratively make time make sense in D&D, where it's just like, oh, I died 4 hours ago, but now I'm perfectly fine. Let's go. I took a nap. Let's rock.
Yeah, that's our current campaign.
Mhm.
The resting rules are tough.
Yep.
A short rest is just 8 hours. Like a short rest is going to sleep.
And a long rest is 3 consecutive short rests in the same place without using a spell slot or rolling initiative.
Like basically without using any sort of resource.
Yeah.
Or losing health.
Or losing health. Those were the 3.
Like it has to be restful.
And then they get a long rest. But then I said if you get a safe haven, which is like a base, then you can take a long rest in 8 hours. In
like a normal long rest. You just go somewhere, you sleep, and it's a long rest.
But what this means is you still have that effect of like, okay, I something terrible happened and now I went to sleep and I'm fine. But now you create, because we paired it with a hex scroll. So now you have a base and then you go on an expedition. And now whatever happens on the expedition, if I roll a random encounter, I don't have to threaten everybody's life with a random encounter. I can just have a single goblin try and stab one of the players and steal their purse. And now they're like, we cannot get stabbed. We're going to have to spend a health potion or a spell or whatever. So all the resources really matter. And now suddenly random encounters are actually fun. Like you could just have them walking through a forest and I'm like, yeah, it's day 3 and you see a dragon overhead and the dragon's not bothered by you, but it might like for that encounter we did, it like wing attacked the legendary action on the wizard and just took him out. Just to boast its strength. It was like, all right, I'm going to leave. And then.
Yeah. It also makes like hit dice, like they feel way more important because we're only, I mean, this is a whole other can of worms, but we're not all the same level. Some of us are level 3 and some of us are level 2. But so that's huge. You're like, okay, am I willing to spend one of my hit dice right now to gain back health? Or is it better to wait a little because I might get more value like out of this die roll when I'm injured more later? And like my character's a ranger and I took the healer feat and I have like a healer's kit. So I'm always like, because then I can reroll ones. So I'm always like, do you want me to heal you right now? Because it will be better than whatever you do.
Yeah.
That's my preferred play style, 100%. Like I like that old school exploration based. A lot of the complaints that you have about 5.5, 514, 524, whatever the hell you want to call it, dear viewers. Say again? 5th edition, 2nd edition? Ooh, that might take over. That might catch on. I don't know. The reason you don't like Rangers is because they broke it, and it used to work really well when all of these resources were significant. Every encounter mattered. Like I like that, where your hit die is a consequential resource, not something you forgot about. And so like that one time you took a short rest because you were in a hurry because like the dungeon master created such a pile on of conditions that you had to keep running because you couldn't take a long rest. That's my vibe. I love a good hex crawl. I love a good exploration based campaign where it's just like, all right, if you guys screw this up, like you might have to go back to town and that takes 2 days and then you got to sleep it off and then you got to go back out and like a week has passed here and the time has changed.
Sorry. Like you definitely feel it more as a spellcaster. Like I'm a ranger, right? So if I run out of spell slots, I still have stuff to do. And it's really, we have a wizard. It's really rough on him. Like he's level 2, so he has what, like 2?
Level 2, he's got three spell slots.
And
But with
we-
one of those spell slots, he can just nullify a fight. Like
Yeah.
they got charged by an owlbear and he cast sleep. All right, we're fine. But that was my spell slot.
Yeah. But that means like what our most recent expedition was like 10 days. Okay, well we did go to a safe haven between it. But like that means, it's like 5 days where there were multiple encounters, like owlbear attack and like a whole kind of like mini dungeon with some like zombies and stuff like that. Like that was all on one long rest. And that's actually like I have many thoughts about the ranger, but that's where like the free castings of Hunter's Mark are really nice because I'm not afraid to use them because and it feels like using them matters because I know I'm not going to get back my spell slots tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, like I have two. I'm okay to throw this out, even if I might think more about using an actual spell slot because again, it's hard to heal and I'm the only magical healer in the party. Like we don't have a dedicated healer. So I'm like, okay, should I use the spell slot for like entangle or something or should I use it for cure wounds?
And it's a different style of play. And now like the fact that that decision matters. That's like the good stuff for me where it's like consequential. High powered fantasy, we're playing the Avengers and like nothing matters. Throw 1,000 mooks at me and I'll mow them down. That's fun for a little bit. But yeah, my preference is that. And I like the idea of like like metaphorically bringing along the glass cannon, just like protect the wizard. They have 11 hit points. Like one good shot is gonna take this guy out, but he can stop a charging owlbear once. We gotta keep him safe. Like
yeah.
And then like arcane recovery comes online at 3, I think.
That player dumped con.
His con score is not high.
He was like, I'm just gonna be a nerd. I think he put. I
don't think he dumped it. It's not a -2.
It's a -1, I think.
Oh God.
I think he's got higher strength.
I love it. Oh man, what you're bad at is equally, if not more interesting than what you're good at. And you're a wizard. Cool. I know you're smart. Oh, you have a -1 constitution. That makes me smile.
Yeah, because we also have Magnus, one of our players. Your player. He's not my player.
Our player.
You adopted him. It's okay.
Yeah. He plays a Warforged. And they're a special race in Orthon in your homebrew world where
stolen from Eberron, obviously.
Where healing potions don't work on Warforged. So up until recently, the only way and I couldn't use my healing kit because it was like normal. The only way I could heal him was by using cure wounds again. So I was constantly like, okay, do I need to save cure wounds for this one party member that cannot be healed in any other way except by me cure woundsing him?
Yeah, that got to a point where the way Magnus put it, and I think it was correct. He said the party's rarest and most like consequential resource is my character's hit points.
Yeah,
because he was the tank, so he was the main tank. So he's like, well, and I can't. Healing potions don't work, so I upped consumables a bit to try and compensate for the resting.
And we have special healing potions basically that just work on him now. But for a period of time, like for many sessions, it was like I basically reserved a healing spell slot for him in case he ever went down, because if he went down, we would all die.
And you'd have to lug him around, and he's like 700 pounds.
Yeah, it's made him. We're all weaklings with -2 strength or something.
The whole party dumped strength. It's hilarious, except the wizard.
Swole wizard. What's up? Gotta get your gains. Watch your macros. I love the idea of like throwing the Warforged on the wagon and like bringing him back to town for repairs, essentially. Because like, all right, poison doesn't work, but neither does healing. Like, your potions are out. You're a robot. You wanted this. You made this choice.
We don't have a wagon. There's no roads. We're just in the middle of a forest and everything sucks.
Got him.
Old school. I mean, I could talk about hex crawls all day, but give me another d20. Let's shoot for what are we on? 12? What do we got?
12 is next. AB, get 12.
That's not a 12. That is a 7.
Oh, 7.
It's descending.
other sources, so like outside of games themselves or outside of TTRPGs, what other sources of inspiration are you guys drawing from?
I've talked about before. I'm a big fan of the West Wing. I've stolen a bunch from them. I like my games sort of with a tinge of modern political stuff in them,
Just a tinge.
just a smidge.
Love a good walk
Whoops.
and talk. Love a good walk and
Yeah,
talk.
they gotta have conversations while walking. It feels more energetic. Uh, I don't know, sandbaggers. Like it used to be the Marvel universe. In our previous campaign setting, I think I stole a lot from the way I really like the way you can watch those individual stories and then you watch the group ups. So I like running solo sessions and solo adventures, and then
Mm.
the group meets up and we all play together.
Well,
Um,
you like the Infinity Saga specifically.
yeah. We were watching because you hadn't seen a bunch of
Yeah,
this.
I hadn't seen. My experience with Marvel movies was like I was never a Marvel fan. I was never like, okay, I gotta go see the latest one. But if my friends went, I would go just because like to hang out. So I had the most random, like spotty view. Like I saw the first part of Endgame, but not the second.
You saw Infinity War,
Oh
but
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
Endgame.
yeah,
Yeah,
that one. I saw Infinity. See, I don't even know the name. I saw Infinity War, but didn't see Endgame. But before I watched Infinity War, I saw the most recent Spider-Man movie where there's
Mm.
like multiples of them. So I knew Tony Stark was gonna die. So I was just like, when does Tony Stark die? I
it
kept
it gets even funnier because when in the first Captain America movie when Bucky died, she turned to me and was like, "He's not dead. He hasn't gotten his emo haircut and
yeah,
fallen in love with Steve yet."
yeah, I knew he comes back and gets like long hair. I was like, this is fake out. So I knew random
You
things.
spent the whole movie waiting for him to come back with emo hair, and he doesn't.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. Um,
The movie later.
and I was a Tumblr girly growing up, so there were lots of things that I just knew as memes.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
like a scene would occur, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, it's that GIF!" And that is like this is a serious emotional moment, and I'm like, "No, this is a GIF."
I think Marvel does not get as much credit because like comics are lowbrow. Not that we're like that stratified anymore, but like the artistic achievement of over a decade taking these individual movies and making one cinematic universe and sticking the landing. Okay, yes, I would argue that they've taken it too far and should have whatever. I don't know if they're still doing that, but just the idea that like Infinity War happened and was good-ish, let alone like respect. Like I thought it was pretty damn good, but like just as an artistic achievement, it's ridiculous to make that many movies, interconnect them, and
Like
we've seen
that.
people try to repeat it, and it's been an abject failure. I think everyone would agree.
He has a custom watch order that we followed that was basically like not like the timeline.
So it's chronological almost,
Yeah.
because the chronological order makes you watch Captain Marvel second, which I think is just a terrible time because you can spend the whole time wondering when Captain Marvel comes back. So
Yeah.
we moved that to
Yeah, we watched
between
everything, and then we watched Captain Marvel before
Endgame.
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. Yeah.
But
So
otherwise, yeah, we were just watching. Like we
In
started with Captain America.
in world chronological, not like
yeah,
real
not
world
release order.
like not release order. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like we started with Captain America because that starts back in you know, World War
World War II, and then
Two.
we do Tony and all that. So it's mostly chronological, but then you move Captain Marvel. No, but my whole campaign setting kind of got started because of I wanted to run adventures like it was the Marvel universe. I wanted to go and be like, okay, this is what you guys are up to. Let's now run for a different group of players in a different setting for a different adventure. Let's go, across the world and run an adventure here. And I'll introduce an NPC in that, and then I'll just put that guy to the side, and then I'll go run an adventure here, and I'll continue running the main game, the Avengers storyline, right? But I'll go and sort of dot these adventures all over the place, and they introduce characters or places or magic items, and then those characters, places, and magic items go into the main story eventually, or show up in other side stories. And this group of players that I think at its biggest of like active in the same year or whatever probably got to like 30 or 40 people who were playing various adventures and had sort of sporadic knowledge of what was going on in my world. And they'd be like, they'd recognize occasional plots as they come up, or I'd name drop somebody in a session, like, a made up thing. And one player would go, oh, they're from that time that I was doing that, and it would have all these kind of connections back. And then it all culminated into its sort of final, we're like 17th, 18th, 20th level fighting Tiamat and Tasha and like all these sort of archetypical villains in D&D.
Oh, did they fight Tasha?
Well, they fought the Pale Knight, which is technically Lutheria, which is technically Tasha, but it's a whole roundabout.
Because we met Tasha that one little thing I was in. I was like, didn't Tasha show up? She was like, oh, my mom.
Yeah, you met Tasha in that one Kingmaker adventure. They didn't fight that version of her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They didn't fight that Tasha. They fought a different Tasha.
That's, for instance, an example of one of those characters is that a player showed up playing a warlock and she got to meet her. No, sorry, we have to go back further. So we ran. I'm sorry, you can cut me off at any point, but we ran. We ran. This is in 2020. We ran a Christmas one shot. And there was a 10-year-old boy. Everyone was level 10, including the 10-year-old boy. And there was a 10-year-old boy and 5 elves, like a Ladrin and a Shatterkai. And the Shatterkai worked for somebody called the Pale Knight, which I believe I found on like the Forgotten Realms wiki. And I was like, oh, this is like the oldest character in Forgotten Realms, or something like that. Or maybe the oldest canonically. I'm not
Whatever.
sure.
You yoinked it from somewhere else.
Yeah, I saw that's a cool name. I'll take that, and I'll just say and not explain this Shatterkai, because it was set in the ancient past of my world. I was like, this Shatterkai, your master is the Pale Knight, and they all went neat. And then like a year goes by, and this warlock who doesn't know who her patron is discovers it's this thing called the Pale Knight. And then one player goes, oh, I played a 10-year-old in that adventure. and then I revealed that her that there was this god in the antiquity of my world called the Pale Knight who was in charge of the dead. But we know that the Raven Queen is now in charge of like the god of death and all that. So something has happened in the interim. And then I seeded that was a character called, I think Magno suggested this, seeded that it was a character called Lutheria from the Odyssey of the Dragon Lord's Adventure. He's now running the Odyssey of the Dragon Lord's Adventure. And he started running that. And then the warlock got into...
This really is a lore. I don't know.
This gets real deep. Sorry. We're about halfway through.
No!
Then they go into the Feywild. They meet Tasha. That was a whole adventure. And Tasha's doing the Wild Beyond the Witchlight thing, because she's in that, spoilers. And then that connects back into this warlock who didn't know about her patron. Then they fight that patron and kill her. And they fight and kill Lutheria. But Tasha was also the Pale Knight at some point, but we don't know more about that. We don't need to get into it. And then
you've already gotten into it.
Crucially, the point being is that now we're in a situation where we know we recently fought in Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. We're fighting in the ancient past. We're fighting this character that we know also comes back in the future, and we fought in the future. So, and we've seen in 6 or 7 adventures in the interim in the Feywild, and so everything kind of connects in this sort of huge network, and that's just this one story, and there are so many of them, and players are involved every step of the way. They make choices, they introduce new characters, or they decide how to interact with, or whatever, and that sort of all gets embedded into the canon of this huge living world we're playing together. It's a lot like Westmarch's style or whatever, but it's got this weave of role playing and storytelling on like personal scenes, like in town or whatever, that you probably wouldn't get in a Westmarch style game as much. Anyway, blah blah. Sorry.
I have a theory. I have a pair of theories here, actually. I think there's a bunch of people sitting in the audience being like, yes, that please. Like, I want a grand interconnected narrative interweaving a bunch of different adventures and like Avengers level Marvel Universe stuff, maybe featuring time travel or not. And there's another group. hearing that and being like, the only way to achieve such a thing is by like mercilessly railroading everybody. So my question to you, was there this grand master plan that you had when you started, or did you like take opportunities that arose organically based on player input and decisions over time?
Well, let me be clear. Also, the reason it's a giant web of things all interconnected is because this has happened over 10 years. Like the Infinity Saga is only complex and interwoven and time travel and everything because they made a gazillion movies. Like the only way to get this to happen is to make a bunch of stuff and go, okay, how do I connect it?
Yeah.
Like I don't think when they made like I don't think when they made Iron Man 1, they were like, I know how Avengers Endgame is going to end.
The last time this guy shows up, he's gonna snap the magic gems. Like, no, I don't think they had that. So no, like I only prep one session into the future. And in this instance, what we're doing is I'll just say something, or a player will say something. And I used this analogy in a video once, and Magnus pointed out to me it's his analogy, and I stole it. But it's like playing Tetris. You get the bricks coming up, and they're all going bum ba da dum ba da dum, and they're going down the screen. And you go, you know what? I don't know what to do with the corner piece right now. So you click whatever button it is, and you save the piece. So I go, I don't know who the Pale Knight is. I'm just going to tell this player that's the name of his patron, or her patron, both of these patrons. And then you save the piece. And then they want to learn stuff, or they want to get involved, they want to do something, they want to play adventures. And then somewhere along the way, we can go fetch the piece and give it to the player and see what they do with it. And they can go create stories with the piece, and then they bring it back to you, and you go, wow, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. And you save it again, and bum, ba, da, dum, and you keep playing Tetris. And then eventually you go and grab it back, and you bounce it back and forth. And this is where the time she's talking about becomes so important. Because if you're constantly doing this, it can feel like you're sort of deciding what you're doing. But if you're just grabbing all these pieces and you're saving them, you're just chucking them to the side, and then players will they'll make their inference on the world. They'll say, you know, I want to go figure this thing out. I want to go deal with this person. I want to, you know, bring up whatever. You grab those pieces again, you give them back to the player, and you see what they do with it.
Because importantly, you don't take it back out if the player isn't interested. If you go,
the amount of dead plot threads.
If you go, ooh, shiny, and they're like, that's nice, I want to talk to Cheddar Cheese.
Yeah.
Like, and we forget about this goddess, and she never comes up again. Like, okay, then she doesn't. You know, that's just a thing that doesn't exist in the game, and we keep going.
Who's Cheddar Cheese? I bet it's some weird little dude. Always some weird little dude.
It sure is a weird little person.
So
I'm sorry, I didn't even, dude is gender neutral where I come from.
No.
I didn't mean to assume.
Joke, because in our current campaign, there's a player character run by one of our friends named Cece. Like C.C. because she hasn't told us her actual name.
She refuses to elaborate.
She refuses to. So at one point, recently, the same Warforged run by Magnus was like, okay, I'm just going to call you Cheddar Cheese. Like, you're going to keep making, because she keeps making up names. She's like, oh, this is my name actually. And we're like, no, that's not true. That can't be. She's like, okay, just call me Cheddar Cheese. And we go, okay.
So now she's Cheddar Cheese. Yeah, but if a player doesn't like whatever plot thread they're working on, then that's it. That's the end of it. And also half of that storyline is not me coming up with it. It's one of my players, Magnus, wanted to run adventures in this game. And he was like, I want to take this Tetris piece you mentioned once, and I want to figure out what's going on with it. And I'm like, okay. And then he took it and put it into an adventure. And he's done that now twice with the same character. And that way we can bounce the character around. So he can grab it and start playing with it and give it to the players, and then put it back in the vault, you know. The toy box. And we sort of cycle through that whole thing.
I love that. And I feel like that is what the people making the comments, like accusing you of railroading everybody, don't understand. And like, it's a shame. One, because they're wasting energy typing mean comments on the internet, but two, because like, that's the good stuff. Man, that like, that explode. I mean, that's really it's explosive. Like that's that chemical interaction between your very amorphous ideas and the players' decisions about those things coalescing into a narrative that we're all discovering together. Like that is what is special about games like this versus go play Last of Us if you want a very well developed storyline with no decision tree, like or even like a binary decision tree. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, because we could sit here and talk about, what style of game we run forever, but like no one on the internet is ever gonna know what it feels like unless they're sitting at our table, right? So it's like even if we did our very best to like be like we're breaking down everything that's ever happened in the past 10 years, like people could still come away from the video with some assumption or whatever, just because that's the reality of watching something on the internet. You just get a snapshot and you don't have the literal human lifespan of experience that
and also
that the people like making it have.
even if we were streaming our game or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people ask if we're going to stream our games. Like we're not really interested in that kind of thing. Like also if we ever wanted to, we would want it to basically be at Critical Role production value, but we're just in our living room, man. Like
but even if we were, what people might not see is all the conversations happening behind the screen. Or once we're no longer playing, where players will say, I bet it's this, or I bet it's that, or I think I know what this plot line is, and I'm sitting there going, I've already decided, but go on.
Like after every session, because all of us at the table, like we're friends in real life.
So we'll sit there and talk for hours on end.
Yeah, after every session, we just like decompress and just talk. We're like, oh, did you do this because of this? I was like, my character was kind of feeling this way, blah 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 blah. So we really dig into like the motivations behind like every action we take.
Why did you feel that? Or another one is very common. It's like, I really liked your scene with so and so.
Yeah.
Like I really liked that moment where you were talking to this person, because I feel like that's where the decisions get made. They don't get made at sort of influx points where the DM presents now it's decision time for the players. They happen in the nebulous nowhere and the no when players are just sort of talking and they're trying to decide what they're about and what they like and what they don't like. And that's when they decide what they think about all those morally gray factions you put in there, and they decide which ones are their enemies, and you can start making content for that.
Yeah, there's always a point where it's just like, I bet the mayor did it. It's like, oh, he didn't, but maybe he did now. Like, most of my players have problems with authority figures, I guess. But like, there's always that point where it's like, this person was going to give you the next quest, but I guess they could secretly be the bad guy now. I don't know. Maybe. Keep talking. Sell me on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, give me one more D20, please and thank you.
Now.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I have to roll below a 7.
Easy.
I believe in you.
Nope.
11. 7, 11.
Okay, I'll take it. Ooh, all right. This is a good bifurcated question. What is the most common player and or game master mistake? Or a common mistake that you would like to speak to?
Like at our table or just in the world of D&D?
In general, I mean, this is an opportunity to call somebody out if you want to. But I just think like what we were just talking about, like a pretty fundamental misunderstanding that I think is like kind of complex. So we could dive back into that if you want. But like, what do you think people would get wrong?
I think it's like, I don't want to use, so I'm trying to not use the words people normally use for this. I think it's like when somebody's seeking out the spotlight too much, because I think that thing where players make edgelord characters that don't take the plot hook, and the one where DMs railroad players, I think it's the same problem, and it's the person wants it to be all about them instead of being about the thing that's happening at the table. So I think you can have. I've played in adventures that were fairly straightforward and linear, and I had a lot of fun because it was about the thing that was happening at the table. And I've played with edgelords who hate everybody, and they were awesome characters because the player knew it was about what was happening at the table. So I think this is essentially the same problem. It's just which side of the screen are they on? Because I bet you if that edgelord player had that same thing going on in their head and they were going to run a game, I think they'd run into a different problem on the other end, and that would be called railroading. But it would be called main character syndrome if they're on the player side of the screen. That's my
Yeah,
two
I think.
cents. That's my response.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of problems, complaints could be solved by just like underlying the word collaborative, right? Like, hey, this is a group dynamic. This is a team sport. It's not just like the dungeon master is telling a story, or is the antagonist in reality, right? Like it's about what's happening together at the table every time. I like that. I'll take it. Maybe do you
Uh,
have one? You want to call somebody out? I felt like there was.
I had like a thought in my mind and it flew away as soon as I was like,
Did I cut it out?
no. Literally just now, like as he was talking.
I have that effect on people sometimes. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's the hold on. I'm finding it. I'm finding it.
She's reaching, giving it thought.
God,
So the weather, huh?
no.
It's wild.
Hold on.
It's. I was about to say it's cold here. It might be colder where you are, but it's cold today. It's.
It's not
It's
cold.
freezing.
It was like 3 or 4 degrees today.
Deadly.
Celsius.
Deadly.
Um,
I saw a fly in front of me. It was flying around, and then it just froze to death and collapsed.
Oh, it's about like oh yes, like D&D groups, or like a DM having like maybe issues with a player or something. Be like, oh, this person's really flaky, or like they never respond, or they never like. I feel like sometimes it's like, okay, they didn't do anything that bad in the game, but I'm always waiting for them to get back to me or whatever. And so okay, this is me calling out. This is my secret dish out that will be in public once our video comes out tomorrow. Is that you can actually be, you as a DM or player or whatever, you can be as picky as you want with your group, and it's actually good for you. Like I think if someone is being lazy and not responding, kick them out and find someone else. You should play with people who are as excited about the game as you are, because that's how you get a good game. And if you don't know anyone, go make some new friends.
You can literally find someone that gives you the energy to run the game instead of drains it from you when you come to the table, and they give you something back, and now you have this explosive creativity, right, where they say an awesome thing and you get excited instead of feeling dread.
Yeah, like if someone's always flaking or is busy 29 days out of the 30 days of the month,
I can't come, I'm feeding my goldfish.
like, okay, have fun feeding your goldfish. You're not coming back to my table, you know?
Know your self-worth.
I like that. I like that a lot. And honestly, the person who's like not as into it, right? The person who wants the more casual like beer and pretzels game, or like whatever, the tactical combat, more war game, that doesn't want to have the conversations in town. Like there's room for everybody at the table to like experience a variety of things that they have different
Absolutely, yeah.
preference levels to. But like the person who just wants to just like hang out with their friends and like bullshit is also not having as good of a time at the table, where like it's the people who want to be more engaged, theatrical, whatever the case may be. So like
And by,
yeah,
if you've got friends and they just want to show up and bullshit, and you have a play group and you want to show up and play a game, those can be two different hangouts. Like you can go have a beer with that friend who just wants to have a beer, and you can go get really serious about dragons for a bit with your friends that want to be serious about dragons. They don't have to happen at the same time. You're compromising both.
I think there's a common mistake where it's like, who is going to be the best people to play D&D with? The 4 or 5 people I already spend the most time with. And that is not necessarily true at all. That could be radically false for a lot of people. So it's like,
Yeah, it
your
can
friends
be.
maybe don't want to. And if they're good friends, they're going to like humor you and play D&D with you. And you're going to be frustrated because they're not acting in a way that you think is commensurate with your level of engagement, and it's like it's a trap. Go find other people to play D&D who are already at your interest level.
Yeah,
Or if they come in, sorry, and if they come in and they're like, la, but you can feel their excitement rise, and you know that there's a future where you can convert someone into a massive nerd, go for it. But
That's my secret superpower. That's why that's why I'm doing this. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, for example, I mean, I find this present in like I like playing board games, like if we just step out of the TTRPG sphere for a moment, Daði does not. But I know he will humor me. Like if
I like hanging out with
like
you.
yeah, he likes hanging out with me. So if I buy a new game or something and I'm like looking for players, he'll come play because he doesn't want me to not be able to.
It
but
requires 4 players. You found 2 other people. I'm like, all right, I'll go play your game.
But he'll sit there and like clearly not be having that much fun, which then makes me not have that much fun because I can tell he doesn't really care. And like that applies to the D&D table. Like if you're 3 people, for example, I mean, we could use the beer and pretzels thing. If you have 3 people that are super into beer and pretzels and just like kill and dungeon crawl and whatever, but one person who's like, I want theater of the mind and 50-minute long role play, scenes.
Turns out that one's the problem player. In
that one actually has to leave. You don't kick out the 3 people who are all agreeing. It's just you need to make sure that whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter what, you're just all in the same, coming from the same place.
Because now you're playing Clank and I'm not in it and y'all are having fun.
Yes. I just wish we played more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You don't have to assign value to one style over the other. Man, yeah, I love that. Profound. All right, well, this was awesome. I like the format. From now on, I'm only talking to couples. So this will launch in about 3 weeks or so. What's on deck? What's the future hold for Mystic Arts games?
The secret is we don't plan videos out that far ahead.
No,
one session at a time.
Yeah, one session at a time, right? You gotta get excited about stuff.
Because Daði a lot of the times we'll have like basically a big collection of first drafts that we work through, and then we just kind of look at our schedule and go, okay, this script is longer. Where can we fit in filming for that? Because we play so much D&D, that we have to find time to put video recordings in.
There's a video I've been working on for a while that we filmed back in early January, and we are still in the process of getting finished. And there's a lot of steps left in it, and we've not finished filming it. We filmed one part of it. And I'm very excited about getting it done. It's going to require a lot more effort. It's probably going to end up...
I think it'll be the most intensive video we have made.
Yes. And it's about how to play a mega game and about a mega game that we played. Now, if you're not familiar, a mega game is a game with... it is a role-playing event where there are, 20 or 30 or sometimes in some of these hundreds or 200 people all basically playing a TTRPG, but it's there's no table. It's almost closer to LARPing, but it's mechanic based, and it's a lot of tactics and strategy and that kind of thing. And we did one recently where everyone was pirates.
I just want to point out, he and Magnus made the game up. We didn't find it. They literally, and Ivar, they literally created their own mega game.
We created a mega game. We invited all our friends to it, and then everyone dressed up as pirates, and we had a huge multi-layer game. So basically, it's kind of like 3 games at the same time, and their teams cross the game. So there's a war game, a diplomatic game, and then a resource management game or a quartermaster game. So you're quartermaster, captain, navigator. And then these all have interconnecting layers, and there were crime gangs, and I was a chancellor for the government of the bad guy faction. And so everyone spent the whole game hating me, and I spent the whole game being hateable.
Well, the premise was like, we're all pirates, and we live in a place that we basically like... The government hasn't been around for a while, and now they show up and are like, you owe us 20 years of taxes. And we're like, no, like, we're pirates. What are you talking about? And at the same time, we've discovered that there's like a massive hoard of like treasure in an island nearby. So while these guys come over and are like saying, oh, give us taxes, and we're saying no, we're all sneakily sending our ships to go and try to steal the treasure. So we're trying to like...
So we've got like naval combat with the pirates trying to fight over the treasure, and then politics with talking to me, who's the government collecting all the taxes, and then there's the quartermasters looking for secret weapons in the city, and these are all things happening at the same time, and they're all connected, and there's a puzzle involved and a cipher, and we want to make this both into a how to make a mega game video, but also into this mega game we played and how it played out, and sort of the story of that city and what happened. And the whole thing is canon in my D&D world. There was an event. I didn't know how it was going to pan out. I was like, I know X happened. I have no idea what happened next. So we're going to get 30 people to play it out and tell me what happened next. And now that's sort of done some fundamental changes to how I think my future campaign is going to be, because the whole event sort of shook everything up.
Yeah, it was really fun. We all got to make our own characters. So you, Daði, Magnus, and Ivar came up with like the concepts for the cruise. So there was turncoats. There was like an undead faction. I was in the undead faction. There were like magic pirate. Basically like every flavor of pirate. So we didn't get to make that up, but then within that we could make our own character. Yeah. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but my group had a very interesting results.
Yes.
And my character specifically at the end.
Talk about playing Tetris.
Yeah.
There were several characters that came out of that adventure, and I'm like, all right, we're saving all these people because I need to be able to use them again.
I think my character certainly became someone.
Yeah.
With a story.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun.
That's
amazing.
Very enticing. Yeah. Is the rule set getting published, released too?
A lot of it was just kind of like patchwork. Like they had stuff on the day of, and like the quartermaster thing, Magnus made like an insane, unreadable like
Miro board.
Like
huge.
It is not in a state where we could, publish it.
Maybe we could sit down and write the rules out. But the truth of the matter is, like, it's so.
Also, it's really tied to your world.
Yeah.
Like we would have to make it a bit more generic so that people could.
And the value of a mega game is the boutique content. So the crews all had special, unique ships and how they work, and the story had like events on it. We had like an event graph of what the bad guys were up to, but that all got knocked out the window as soon as a few things happened. So like really the only way to run a mega game that we've done this twice now, is that the three game masters just had to constantly talk to each other and constantly trust each other. And then when there were bridging moments, they had to walk up to each other and be like, hey, by the way, did you allow that? Or hey, okay, right, fine, we'll work with it, So yeah, hopefully by the end of those videos, people will figure out how to make their own mega game instead of using whatever we'd write up.
It's very inspiring. I was like, my wheels are already turned. I'm already like compiling the roster of the 30 people. Like, oh yes.
If you're a certain kind of mega nerd, you can get a play group of 30 people together. You could go to your local friendly local game store and figure that out.
Heck yeah. Awesome. All right. Looking forward to watching that. Maybe it's out by the time you're watching this, dear viewer. Thank you for spending the time with me. Thank you, viewer, for spending the time with us. We will see you next time. Be good. Have fun. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.